Hello, everyone. My name is Dawn, and welcome to another episode of The Chamber Within. What comes to mind when you think of the term spiritual gift? When someone is gifted spiritually, I tend to think of the gift of sight, like seeing spirits, or the ability to see down a timeline into someone's probable future if they continue down a particular path. Growing up, I thought it was so cool to watch movies that were about paranormal activity. They always had that one character with the psychic ability to help bridge the gap between what was happening and the reason why, so that they could stop the disturbance happening in a home, the haunted house storyline. These people lived in two different worlds, and it was so cool to me that in this world, in this life, there actually existed possibilities beyond more than what meets the eye. Literally. I would watch shows and read books over the years about people who had extrasensory abilities, and I admired them. I admired those gifts a lot, ironically, all while ignoring my own. Weird things would happen to me, and I would write them off as an odd experience. And I had said in previous episodes, because in my family, the only thing that were validated were dreams, and everything else was just like, no, 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 that's not real, that didn't happen, what have you. I've had dreams since I was a kid. If you've been, you know, like I said, listening to me for a while, about how many of my family members have said goodbye to me post mortem. Well, I'm starting to think, what gift is that? How do I categorize it? I've not read about that. You know, this was happening when I was in middle school. The validating moment was when my mother said to me in my dream, the night before her funeral, actually, that her throat doesn't hurt anymore. Even though the nurse assured me while she was in ICU that the ventilator she was on after her lungs collapsed didn't cause her any pain because she was so sedated. And after the funeral, I shared this with my godparents, and my godfather said that his mother told him specifically not to have her put on a ventilator because it was indeed very uncomfortable. So from then on, that was my normal. When I was very young, one day my aunt looked me over and said, "You are going to see things." She never explained herself, by the way. Also, I didn't question her. I just listened. It was a very weird moment. She, looked me in the eyes, and like I was the only one in the room, and looked me over my face and just up and down. And I looked around. I looked at my father and the other adults in the room, and they were chatting it up. And I'm like, is anyone else seeing this? I looked back at her, wanting answers, but she then changed the subject. I'm thinking, why would she say that without any follow up? My young, curious mind needed more, wanted more answers. She too has departed this life, and like clockwork, I saw her post mortem as well. She was happy and standing behind her dining room table. The scene was in her kitchen, by the way. And she had each of her arms wrapped around her brothers who had gone before her. Two of her brothers, two of my uncles. One on the left, one on the right. That was her goodbye to me, to let me know not only was she okay, but she was reunited with them. Like, she was genuinely happy. Anyways, since there weren't any formal trainings on what I have been experiencing, I am left here to figure things out piece by piece. One spiritual book, actually, I read early on, um, defined the four spiritual abilities as the clairs. The word clair, being spelled Claire, means clear. So the first one is called clairvoyance, which means clear seeing, right? This is the ability to see with your physical eyes, the third eye, or in dreams. That's how it was defined. The second one is clairsentience, which means clear feeling. This is the ability to pick up on a feeling emoting from another being, whether it's a person or non-physical presence. I actually have a note about that later personally, how I experienced it. The third type is called claircognizance. This is when you know something without knowing how, known as clear knowing. And then the fourth one is clairaudience, which means through sound, clear hearing. So people who do mediumship would fall under this category, as well as clairsentience, because they are picking up on either a feeling or um, a sound. Like they usually say, I'm hearing this or I'm feeling that, to kind of convey the messages for the person who is looking to connect with their loved ones who have passed. Now, this is what I've learned about my own gifts. I don't have to touch someone to feel them. I can just sense it and it gets interpreted through my own body. I haven't gotten to the point where I can choose it. It has only happened to me randomly in the past. I'm not honing in on someone. No, 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 no. Now, feeling someone else's feelings or general well being kind of feels like somehow we've synced up like a Wi Fi signal. They're giving off a feeling or emotion, and I'm picking up that singular emotion instead of like a general feeling. So, the best way for me to explain how it feels to me is that you know how someone can walk past you or you walk past them and they have an aroma or stench, and you know for a fact that this scent is not emanating from you. That's how it feels to pick up on someone else's energy. Like that's I'm not wearing that cologne, but I'm still experiencing it. I still can smell it. Now, I don't have to touch them, but I have in the past, and it only magnified the feeling. Now, of the three times that this has happened, two of them have been complete strangers that I have not met before, like complete and total strangers. And just recently, the third experience was with a coworker of mine. I will say this. I am not a huge fan of this experience, picking up on someone else's feeling that does not belong to me, since it's so random and I'm still trying to understand it. You know, I'm thinking, well, what do I do with this energy other than feel it? How does it work? How do I not pick up on it? I look around and I see people who are so sure in their gifts, so confident. You know, this is why I wanted to talk about this today because, you know, I'm really still learning a lot. I'm really interested to see how other people define spiritual gifts. You know, books are great, but I love talking to people. I see a lot of confident people who are saying, I can help you do this or I can help you do that, you know, using their gifts. And I'm here with my own that I can barely make sense of, you know? It's like a workplace secret Santa gift. Like, okay, thank you, but what do I do with this? The honest truth is, you know, I don't have all the answers, or I should say, the answers that I'm wanting about spiritual gifts. And, you know, my whole focus has been about embodiment, not simple conjecture. I like to experience things. And, you know, truth be told, I really enjoy helping people through speaking with them. I'm more than fine doing that, you know, communicating with or listening to people and helping them sort things out. You know, sometimes it just takes a sounding board to just kind of bounce ideas off of, and, you know, it helps when you can do that with another person to get your car to steer right. You know, sometimes you just need some, you know, a passenger in the seat to help you go down a particular road. I don't know why I occasionally feel things that don't seem to belong to me, but what I do know is that these experiences have been part of my life since the 90s. And, you know, that's enough time to be an expert at anything, I would imagine, had these things or gifts been cultivated and practiced instead of denied. And this is also very new to me, as I've said, and I have learned to embrace the very thing I had admired about others for so long. So that's cool. However, I won't pretend to be certain. You know, I've chosen to remain curious, and I trust that I'll be led to wherever I need to be. So my question to you out there is, How do you define a spiritual gift? I really want to know. I love this topic, as you can tell. You can email me at thechamberwithin@yahoo.com, or feel free to leave me a voice note at speakpipe.com/thechambervoiceline. I thank you for joining me again this week, and I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.